As a cold midnight moon in 1258 AD slanted across the half-collapsed marble arches of the House of Wisdom in Baghdad, the air was heavy with a faint, parched scent of thirst and the lingering fragrance of incinerated parchment. Within a reading room choked by thick dust, its window frames shattered beyond repair, an old man with silvering hair and eyes as deep as fixed stars knelt silently amidst the ruins. He was not pleading with the Mongol iron cavalry celebrating in their revelry outside. Instead, from a pile of scrolls sodden by the river, he used trembling fingers to tenderly piece together a single illustration of celestial motions. For 40 years, this man had been a companion to these books, having traversed nearly every line of text left from the city's golden age. Yet, what he held most sacred was this very stack of fragments in his hands. He was Al-Mu'tadid, the last grand librarian of the Abbasid era. This is a chronicle of how restraint ignites power and how despair is transmuted into a perpetual vigil. The genesis of Al-Mu'tadid's life held none of the decay associated with a dynastic end. Rather, it was a profound foundation woven from the scent of ink and lamp oil within the blue-tiled corridors of Baghdad's House of Wisdom. As the scion of a humble scholar, he was sent in childhood to this, the world's largest sanctuary of books, a microcosm of extreme tranquility, governed by logic and intellectual purity. Amidst pillars adorned with intricate geometric patterns, he mastered the tongues of Arabic, Greek, and Sanskrit to translate the veiled secrets of cosmic origins. Young and elegant, he eschewed the courtly climbing his peers favored, turning instead to the quiet embrace of the celestial department and the calculation of stellar orbits. This near-obsessive pursuit of order became his sole weapon for preserving truth in a world of upheaval. He understood that the eternal numbers upon a page were the only true anchors for the soul. If his early years were the slow sedimentation of wisdom, then as Hulagu's expeditionary forces closed in on the Mesopotamian plains, Al-Mu'tadid pushed the aesthetics of the vigil to its practical zenith. While the grandees of the court were busy liquidating their estates to flee, the old librarian took his few remaining pupils and used his final salary to purchase vast quantities of pine resin and wax cloth. Within the fragile walls of the library, he sought to build a makeshift levee of fire and water resistance for hundreds of thousands of rare volumes. In the deep of night, where the only sound was the distant neighing of warhorses, he issued silent commands for the relocation and burial of texts, based on a mercilessly precise classification of their rarity. This mode of defense required no gunpowder, yet it transformed the preservation of books into a masterful intellectual counterattack played out through the written word. In that hour, he was the most lucid and solitary craftsman in the Islamic world, a lone lighthouse amidst a turbulent tide, refusing to be extinguished. When the gates of Baghdad were breached in February 1258, the waters of the Tigris were stained a ghastly purple with ink and blood. Standing upon the roof of the House of Wisdom, Al-Mu'tadid watched as priceless manuscripts were crudely cast into the great river, witnessing pages inscribed with celestial laws dancing through the thick smoke like white doves with broken wings. Amidst the littered ruins, he retrieved a single volume of stellar observation notes, trampled by heavy boots yet still miraculously intact. This transition, from possessing 10,000 scrolls to guarding but one, was fraught with intellectual tension. In the margins of that notebook, he recorded every harrowing detail of the destruction. On the final page he mused, "I once believed I was managing a library. Now I find I am merely searching within a vast desolation for a point of convergence where the soul no longer falls." This expansive clarity, born of seeing beyond the rise and fall of empires, became his most unyielding armor in his final hours. The final days of Al-Mu'tadid were spent in a state of profound solemnity and a silence illuminated by the radiance of a sage. On the summer solstice of that year, a fine rain fell soundlessly over Baghdad, washing the ruins into a translucent, somber gray. By now, Al-Mu'tadid's body had grown exceedingly light, wasted by days of fasting and a broken heart. His once voluminous scholar's robes hung loosely upon his fragile skeletal frame. In his final moments of lucidity, he requested to be carried to the spot where the astrolabe once stood, to look one last time at the mist drifting over the Tigris, a mist that resembled the color of spilled ink. He closed his eyes, and with those hands that had touched 10,000 wisdoms, he traced one last arc of closure across his chest. The cold river carried away the sage's last sigh. He left behind no vast estate, but a wisdom of the vigil that remains searing even 7 centuries later, the weightiest fragment of a dream gifted to the world. Even today, 7 centuries after his passing, the name of Al-Mu'tadid remains a sanctuary for many a restless seeker in the dead of night. What he left behind was not a soaring mosque, but a spiritual template for the guardship of civilization. He teaches us that even if the entire world besieges you with violence, and even if your ideals are destined for collapse, the order within your heart is governed solely by your own perception of truth. He was one of those rare figures in history who truly transcended life, death, and desolation, maintaining absolute lucidity amidst absolute shadow. Beneath the site of ancient Baghdad, its edges now smoothed by time, he remains in a posture of eternal contemplation. Al-Mutadid's quiet vigil for truth has crossed the boundaries of geography and time, living on in every soul that yearns for reality and the unknown. The saga of Al-Mutadid thus draws to a slow close amidst the fading whispers of the Tigris. He was never an opportunist who bartered scholarship for fame. He was merely a weary soul who steadfastly refused to compromise with the absurd. He reminds us that no matter how mundane your life may be, inner tranquility is your only true and eternal refuge. Just as he sat through the coldest winter nights of Baghdad, clutching a guttering candle to find a fulcrum for existence within the void through the tip of his pen. Perhaps you, too, are navigating the uncertainties of life at this moment. But believe this, in every life, there exists an immortal star chart of one's own, a private space for dialogue with a self that requires no outward explanation. May the serenity and vastness of Al-Mutadid become the softest feather in your dreams, carrying you toward that most peaceful and expansive shore of the inner soul. Good night.